Hello everybody, how's it going? So we are back once again, a little out of order, I must say, but that's just what I want to do here. And you'll also notice no face cam. I find it more comfortable to freely let my mind kind of wander and help me kind of piece it all together so it's not so jarring when I cut it. But let me just say, this extras volume of chapter 13 is pretty crazy, okay? And this chapter has me super hyped for what's next within the 7th layer. Anyway, we're gonna get into it. So we're shown some very nice looking art as usual. Sakushi's truly a special artist. Nanachi before she got absolutely wrecked. Another Nanachi. Some delicious looking food, I must say. And here we go. Here's the meat. So the Star Compass Addendum. Now, this is just a way to kind of push the very important pieces up in front, and really a reminder of the journey that the Star Compass itself has had within the Abyss. But obviously we start with Rico finding the relic. That being, it was excavated within the shallows of the first layer, and they can only really speculate its grade, what grade it is, because it's unregistered. Rico clept it. But the boys, Kiyu, Nat, and Shiggy, think that it's a grade 4. But we're reminded right after that relics are items of unreal power. And much like we talked about in the last video, and a lot of other videos, that the stronger of them take on more complex shapes and have a lot more details to them. And with that fact, Rico believes it to be a grade 2 or higher. But before Rico, we know that the Star Compass was in someone else's possession, and that being the parent, I guess you could call him, abuser, really, of Waco, who tells of a very interesting story of encountering a floating shipwreck at sea that happened to be smoking. But upon boarding the ship, he and his crew find the source of the smoke, and it happens to be a corpse, just billowing out like a chimney. But there was no fire, no flame, not even an ember. Another victim was split in two, but still twitching with some residual life, it seems. And also an especially gruesome fate of one whose entire insides had been popped out from their head. Crazy. And in the back remained a single, feeble old man. Still alive, but his eyes told of death, and he spoke of a giant man-eating pit where the compass stands straight. He cries that he ran away, that he couldn't look, that the Golden City truly is down below in the world's depths. I couldn't go. Please. And those end up being the poor guy's last words. So, the dude was definitely traumatized by something, okay? He saw something he shouldn't have. Now, with Ganja arriving at the fabled pit, at this place for the forlorn, for the abandoned, the neglected, the rejects. They come across a village. Well, really, they're ambushed by the villagers, if anything, and they're taken to the village. And while they're there, they try to communicate with some of the people there, specifically with an elder. And as they're talking to him, he notices the star compass in Voiko's possession. And in response of seeing this, he starts screaming, "Piece of the essential part." You know, form of the essential part. In the Kindle manga, that's what it says. It says form of the essential part. But it's the same. It's the same exact idea. And then we're told that it is unclear as to whether the star compass that was associated with Ganja through Voiko is even the same one that Rico had. That Voiko slightly differs through its star-shaped interior. Most notably, just by looking at it, we can see that they clearly differ in detail, right? And obviously, we're going to go through it. So, to start off, we're going to start at the top, the tip, and each of them, each of their compasses, looks to be chipped, okay? I know it's kind of just like a design thing, but that's the only way I can really describe it. And Voiko seems to be asymmetrical compared to Rico's more uniform breaks up there, that could just also be an angle thing, as they're in a different perspective from each other. So that could just be me talking out of my ass. But okay, guys, so on the right is going to be Voiko's star compass, and on the left here is Rico's compass, as you can see up on the top. So now we can actually get a bigger visual here of what I'm talking about. So here's the chisels done on the very top. As you can see, this is looks like Swiss cheese more than a actual uniform shape, but again, that could also be the perspective of each compass, okay? This right here is what I was talking about. The part connecting the top and the centerpiece has more chiseling done on Rico's, as you can see. There's some chiseling done on the sides here. The whole remains the same, though. And she also has more detail right here, more peaks, it seems, right here. And possibly the most important part is the bottom, with Rico's having some kind of face or something engraved in it, as well as the ball being much larger than Voiko's, and Voiko's missing the arrowhead shape entirely. So right here is the arrowhead shape, clearly different. The ball is much bigger, okay? And obviously it's missing the most identifying feature almost of the star compass, I'd say. That right there. I mean, at least that we can see. And Rico's also appears to be much sharper. And this is why I wanted to go through it again. Some of the phrasing and some of the added little details he added, some little hints here and there, kind of shifts the field a little bit. So Sakushi brings up that Wazukan had also called this the star compass before, before Orth. You know, and as far as we know, relics were not a super popular thing back in their time. Like, it wasn't just like a thing that they traded, that got traded out. You know, it stayed within the Abyss, and only the Abyss civilizations knew about it. Now, this quote is really, really interesting, okay? When they got closer to the Abyss, the star-shaped interior part seemed to stand up straight. But among the rumbling sea, it was tough to discern. Their arrival could be said to have been a coincidence. So it's hard for me to not to just dive like all the way into that, or at least like buy that. I think that might just be a red herring, because it seems to be anything but a coincidence. The star compass is clearly connected to the Abyss in some way. It calls out to the kind of people that Ganja Squad was. And it honestly seems to want to go back to the Abyss. It seems to captivate people to want to go down into the Abyss, to seek this beacon of sorts. Like I said, it's hard to see it as anything but a coincidence, but if you guys got an idea, let me know. See, this is also strange, okay? These horns we haven't seen yet from anybody. Fapta has some up in the, on the top of her head, but those are dramatically different from these. The long hair kind of reminds me of Shirumi and Manai, or Voiko even, like Voiko's long hair. Obviously, it's not Voiko, I'm just saying. And then it seems that she's like on top of, or they're on top of like a pile of ash and eternal fortune petals and stuff. Yeah, I don't have any implications. I mean, maybe it's after all the funeral customs, like it just happened to pile up near the bottom wherever this person happens to be. Strange to say the least, though. There's our fur ball. And here is the 7th layer Cthulhu monster. Now, with an unknown name and absolutely zero information about this, the only thing we can actually learn from it is through the fight. And it's thought that it uses a huge veil that catches the force field to float and swim through the air. Its extremely superior ability to spoof is a mystery in the extent of its influence, the range, and even how it does this. When in direct contact, its body is revealed. Only then can one infer anything about it. Its assumed danger level is up to an extraordinary 6 stars, which is the highest ranked primeval creature we've encountered yet. And we have one final note on this big guy here. Predators that move freely about the alleged certain death that is the strain of the 7th layer should be thought of as having a danger level of no less than a 4-star deadly, with no exception. This creature is an extremely big one, Its abilities are unknown, and its tentacles with multiple fangs growing out of them can eat a human whole without problem. Its danger level should not be taken lightly. Basically, this thing is no joke, and we see that. It totally destroyed Nanachi. Anyway, guys, we seem to get a significant portion of the Hariomari collection that was first unknown to us. And I'm gonna read it in full page after page, okay? With its neck stretched out, it gazes up at the golden sky, the gazing path of the maelstrom, the rising calamity with vanishing poison. Bugs and birds paint in the sky a freezing river. The curtain of twilight reveals the state of the stars. Thus, once again, one who was captivated by it is lured into the depths of the earth. The path of the maelstrom vastly envelops water and sky and calls upon the travelers. Here I call you, Dayahode. And before we get into that, something even more interesting in my opinion is the mysterious weird shape that we see in the background that we've seen in the blue pendant that resembles the shape of the nest, the whatever is in the second layer, as well as a hala, a Narahate, in the middle, or what seems to be Narahate. Definitely a hint to the rebirthing process that we have been so frequently hinted towards. And we have a mysterious figure on the bottom, saying that it's hard to parse though it may be. It says it will be rejected were it not done this way. It says that by doing this, it wanted to let it ripen. The scheme of the thieves that continue through the gate of the netherworld. Hey Grons, I fail to understand. Why does the unknown, why does adventure drive people so far? And they seem to be holding ashes and eternal fortune petals. That's the only thing that we've seen so far that I can remember that would make sense. Really, it could be anything at this point. It's all about just getting those answers now and drawing those connections to the bigger things going on within the Abyss, like the Hariomari collection. So, right now, I'd like to go back and talk about some things. Most notably to me is this giant eye right here, okay? It kind of gives me the vibes of the scene where Midi and Rico kind of have that connection on a soul level. But we see within this eye, it's clearly the star-shaped, the compass part of the star compass right here. And in the light reflected here, we see it is a pentagon. Much like the excavation site found by Habo, the entrance of the excavation site found by Habo. We then have another look down here on the lower end, and if we assume that this is like an actual eye, this seems to be closed. And there's even a little line there, kind of like the eyelid is closed. And it seems to be melting, or something, I don't know, it kind of reminded me of a black hole, kind of. And space and stars and all that are clearly very important, so I think all that will come into fruition soon. So this being an actual eye of someone or something is pretty obvious, given that we're told time and time again about this right here, the gazing, only those poorly formed shall be overlooked, only those poorly formed may take a breath. So, assuming this is an eye is, yeah, I would say that's a given. But at first, I thought that the flawed was anybody like the twins, right? But we later learned that they only have a month to live, and whatever they are afflicted with, whatever is giving them this disability is caused by the curse of the Abyss, as we see another person that has shared the same fate in the Wharf District, but who also has the same shape seen in this new chapter over here. You can see that right there. I'm going to put a picture up. The guy clearly has that shape kind of, I don't know, like scarred into his forehead or tattooed in his forehead or something. And who Ozen comments to be the sole survivor of the curse that's spilling onto here. And we all and we clearly know that at least one pair of twins was born here in the Wharf District. And with the curse rising, it would make sense that the Wharf would be one of the first, if not the first place to get hit by this breath. And clearly this person has some relation to the twins. The guy here refers to Ozen as a thief of Orth. And this kind of gives me the notion that this guy is maybe part of the Miko's group, or maybe somebody who worships the Miko, as in like a cult or a religion, some kind of, sect of the Abyss, or maybe even the Abyss itself. I don't know for sure, but the phrasing is suspicious. So, like, did he send them off, the twins? Did he have some kind of communication with Krivagli and Tapaste? I mean, clearly the Miko had some of her people at least infiltrate Orth's Delver culture. But it seems that the stealing from the Abyss is perhaps a cycle, and is definitely planned by someone or something. Either way, we're told they intended, whoever this is, that they intended to draw this out. And is this where value comes in? This has been said since like the start of the series. The total value of a civilization that has formed around the Abyss is used to create a new layer or something. I was rereading, and the pharmacist lady, Mio, her name is Mio, okay? She comes back after the 7-year time difference between a dog being referred to as Reg, who has a whistle on him, which is kind of strange because Rico has a bell. But anyway, that's a whole other topic. We're not going to get too into it. She's staring down into the Abyss, right? And she says, somehow it feels like you've gotten deeper over the last 7 years, or from last time I was here 7 years ago or something. In this section, it's talking about the Orth, the city of Orth, the thieves that continued through the gate of the Netherworld, right? But all the other ones seem to be talking to a specific person. And then this black whistle is very, very strange. And we can see her hair has also changed, possibly due to being in the depths of the Abyss for so long. As we see, it kind of messes with people's hair. Prushka, Ozen, stuff like that. But I'm assuming this is another member of Tapaste's group, well, the Shrine Maidens group. But I don't even think we could really understand their significance, just because it seems to be a new character yet to be introduced. And as well, down here, we could see a little girl or a little boy looking up at whoever seems to be reaching out for them. And the person, like, maybe this is a memory, or, maybe this is, like, they can communicate with souls, as we see that Prushka had like a spirit form, like where Rico could go and kind of like manifest her within her dreams or whatever to talk to her. So, but this is clearly the same Narahate that we see in this page right here, clearly, because she's still reaching out, and the middle definitely gives me the vibes of the rebirth process that has been talked about so much. And if this is a memory, or some kind of communication with the soul, the signals of the soul or whatever, the only thing that I can take from this right now is that this Narahate wants to resurrect whoever this little kid happens to be. And I know it's pretty obvious, but we can also take that this Narahate is not the same person as right here, as obviously this person doesn't have any fur or anything that would be considered blessed or hollow, at least in the way we've seen so far. Okay, so could that be Grons? The Narahate, could that be Grons? So I'm really kind of on the fence about thinking that Rico is not the one being referred to in the collection. The lines just match up too well, but I guess at the same time, to counter that, a lot of people kind of have that longing for the Abyss, as we've seen with like Wazukan and stuff. And obviously Rico is special, okay? But in what way, we're not sure, okay? But just the fact that Rico died as a baby seems to me that the soul that went into Rico was not the original soul that was still in that was in the stillborn. And I've brought this up a billion times, but Surajo explains this process metaphorically, saying that a soul returning to signals is like a drop of water in the ocean. Okay, that being able to parse out a specific soul would be near impossible. Okay, well, at least what Surajo is assuming or hypothesizing. And honestly, I can't make sense of a lot of what's going on right now. I still need to catch up with a lot of this information and stuff, but you know, I like doing this, so I feel like the breadcrumbs are definitely significant enough to start pushing us into a definitive answer of what's really going on. That's the kind of feeling I get from especially this volume right here. I think the easier answer to these new quotes is that it's simply all omens, waiting to be fulfilled to achieve whatever cycle the abyss seems to commence every 2,000 years. The fact that the Amaranthan Deceptors made their way all the way to the 4th layer of the flower field from their original home within the 6th layer, that's strange. The fact that the Split Jaw traveled way past its usual already shallow hunting grounds is weird. The Sakawatari seen at the start of the series is weird. We have Emperor Shells almost seeming to be praying to the sky as Iron Rain crashes down, Reg ascending and traveling down with Riko, who herself, as we've said, is a product of the Abyss, and, you know, so is Reg and Nanachi and Fapta. The excavation site, the rarity of twins, the nest and reincarnation, Hariomari, a mass extinction. These are all omens to us, prophecies to someone else. But it kind of seems to be the natural state of things down here. So much so that this has all been recorded and prophesized to happen. I'm sure Orth right now is in utter chaos by now, if not completely in shambles, okay? From what we've already seen is a far cry from when we first saw this lively, rich town, you know, in the past at this point. But I can't wait for the new volume, the new chapters. Chapter 70 was absolutely nutty. And the thought of the anime continuing from where we left off in Season 2 is really, really exciting. Even if it doesn't happen, it's fun to think about just how crazy good it would be. But I'm going to end it here, guys. Like I said, if you guys got anything to say, go ahead and start some discussions down below. I'll check every once in a while, but I'm not trying to get too wrapped up into that. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll check you guys next time.
レグ、これが私たちの住む町、大穴の町、オースだよ。